The sun was dipping low across the prairie, painting the horizon in hues of fire and gold, when a woman appeared at the edge of the ranch gates. Her dress was nothing more than rags, her shoes worn thin, her face pale from hunger and miles of walking. She carried no pride in her posture, only the desperate courage of someone who had nothing left to lose. Her trembling hands clutched the handle of a wicker basket, empty save for a threadbare blanket inside. And when she finally collapsed to her knees on the dusty road, her voice broke like glass as she whispered, "Please, I only beg for work. I will scrub the floors, tend the cattle, anything for a crust of bread." Behind the heavy gates, the grand ranch stretched like a kingdom of prosperity, white fences, strong cattle, and the smell of supper drifting from the big house. It was a place of abundance, a sharp contrast to the hollow-eyed woman who knelt in the dirt. Two little girls stood not far off, peeking curiously at the stranger through the rails of the fence. They were dressed in neat linen frocks, their hair brushed soft by caring hands, their cheeks warm with the comfort of knowing they belonged to a home. Yet there was a yearning in their eyes, a space in their lives left empty by the loss of a mother who had passed too soon. They watched the woman in rags as though their hearts already knew something their minds had not yet named. The sound of boots striking against the earth drew all eyes to the man who emerged from the ranch house. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his coat embroidered with patterns of the West, a wide-brimmed hat shadowing eyes that had seen both triumph and heartbreak. This was the rancher, the man whose wealth and influence stretched across the county, who commanded respect wherever he walked. Yet in that moment, as he stood before the kneeling woman, he did not see a beggar. He saw courage wrapped in weariness, dignity clothed in rags, and a soul who had fought her way to his gates not for her own pride, but for survival. The woman dared to lift her chin, tears shining in her eyes as she pleaded, "Sir, I ask nothing but a chance to work. Let me earn bread by the sweat of my hands. Please, I do not want charity. Only labor." The rancher studied her in silence, the sunset burning behind him like a crown of fire. The little girls stepped forward and tugged at his coat, their small voices carrying a truth that cut deeper than any logic. "Pa," one whispered, pointing at the woman. "She looks like she belongs here." The other added, "She looks like a mama." The man's jaw tightened, for the wound of his late wife's passing still lived raw in his chest. He had vowed never to let another woman close enough to reopen that scar. Yet here were his daughters, longing with innocent eyes for the warmth they had been missing. He lowered his gaze to the woman who trembled in the dust, and, in a voice that was both steady and fierce, he asked a question that changed the course of both. "Their lives, will you be the mother my girls need?" The words struck her like thunder. She gasped, clutching at the fabric of her tattered dress as though to steady her heart. Never in her darkest nights had she dreamed a man of such standing would speak such words to her. She wanted to protest, to insist she was unworthy, but the little girls rushed forward before doubt could steal the moment. They wrapped their arms around her, small hands pressing against her threadbare sleeves, faces nestling against her, shoulders as though they had found what they had been waiting for all along. The rancher bent down, his shadow falling over them like a shield, and extended his hand to the woman. For a heartbeat she hesitated, staring at his palm, at the promise of a life beyond hunger, beyond loneliness, beyond being cast aside by a world that had forgotten her. Then, with tears sliding down her cheeks, she placed her hand in his, and in that simple touch, she felt a belonging deeper than any coin or bread could buy. The gates opened, not just of the ranch, but of fate itself, and the dust rose behind them as the family walked inside together. From that day, the woman no longer begged for scraps. She built a home, nurtured two little hearts, and discovered that sometimes destiny doesn't ask for permission. It demands courage to step into the unknown. And as for the rancher, he learned that wealth is not measured in cattle or land, but in the love that fills the silence of an empty house. Dear listener, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of hope, redemption, and love found in the unlikeliest places, then let your support be known. Subscribe to this channel, for many more stories are waiting, stories that will move you, inspire you, and remind you that miracles walk dusty roads and knock at gates when you least expect them. Life on the ranch took on a new rhythm after that fateful evening. The woman, once dressed in rags, now wore simple but clean dresses given by the rancher's household, and her hands found purpose in every corner of the land. At dawn, she helped the ranch hands with breakfast, her laughter mixing with the clatter of pans, something the house had not heard in years. The little girls clung to her as if afraid she might vanish, their small fingers twining through her skirt as they followed her from the garden to the barn. At night, she tucked them in with lullabies too soft for the prairie wind to carry away, her voice filling the emptiness their father had tried so long to quiet with silence. The rancher, though stern and guarded, found himself watching her from the porch as the sun went down, seeing the way she knelt to braid his daughters' hair or patch their dresses by lantern light. He marveled at how quickly she fit into the cracks of their broken family, mending wounds without even knowing.